to Kansas, gateway to Oz. Under the rainbow, this is where it was. Hollyhocks and red ripe tomatoes, hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. It's the best part of Dorothy's dream.
Today on Around Kansas, join us for part 3 in a series of documentaries about Honduras and a man who moved to western Kansas. Then join us for a story about the mysterious black squirrels. Next, we'll have a poem from Ron Wilson, and we'll end with a look at the upcoming Christmas tree exhibit in Lecompton. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Welcome to Kansas.
Well, hello again. This is Around Kansas. That makes it Wednesday. Or you could be watching it online, and it could be any day, anytime, whatever. But thanks for watching. Around Kansas is the show that promotes and talks about why Kansas is a great place to live, work, play, and come visit. Well, here we are, day after the election, and, now we move on from here, huh? Well, November is really full of a lot of things, as it seems like every month is. But, of course, we've got daylight savings, which ended on the 4th. Hope you set your clock back, spring forward, fall back. So now it gets a little lighter earlier, but it gets a little darker earlier too. So whatever, daylight savings. Of course, Election Day we have had, and then Veterans Day coming up on the 11th, and then Thanksgiving on the 22nd. So the month is going to roll on very quickly, pretty much like this entire year has. I know I've talked about it time and time again till it's ad nauseum and all of that. Got some orders from western Kansas. That's where my co-host Deb Goodrich is. And she sent in some things for me to talk about this morning, which is good because sometimes I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. Anyway, Deb asked listeners and readers about stuff they're thankful for, since this is Thanksgiving month. And she says she uses some of them in her intro to Oscar Rivera's segment, which will be an interesting segment in today's show. Anyway, Diane Strange is thankful for the natural beauty of Kansas, as we all are. Maya Fitzpatrick is thankful for Roosevelt Junior High, Potwin, Onega, and the Topeka Ballet. Now, I don't know how old you are, but Roosevelt Junior High is no longer there. But it was one of the 7 junior highs when I was in junior high here in Topeka, Kansas, USA. Cindy Toon is thankful that November is also Native American Heritage Month. And we will have a segment on that later this month. Greg Heller and Barbara Bland are grateful for all the fascinating history that the state of Kansas has to offer, and all of the people across this great state who preserve and share this history for folks to see and learn from. And Brad Davenport, I love this one. Brad Davenport is thankful for extra large bags of Butterfingers. And also, we've got to get this in. There's a screening of Deb's film, Thoth's Dragon, at the Palace Theater in Oakley at 4 p.m. coming up on November 11th. Reception then at the Fick Fossil Museum to follow. So there you go. Those are the notes from Deb today. Thank you, Deb. And I know that you've got some really great stories today. And anyway, we're going to be taking a look at those after you watch them.
Hi, I'm Kim Mandring with Hardy Insurance. I'm here to help you with all of your farm and ranch needs. When it comes to protecting your operation and your family, you need a name you can trust at a price you can afford. Call me today or visit hardyaviationins.com.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Fort Wallace was the fightingest fort in the West. Fossils, Indians, soldiers, scouts, wagons, trails, pioneers, stories. Discover the story of Fort Wallace and the people who served here, the people who fought here, the people who settled here. Wallace County, where the past is present.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
November is the month of thankfulness. I ask our readers what they are thankful for and got some wonderful responses. Jeannie Schuler of Topeka said, "The people of Kansas are the most friendly, compassionate, giving people. I am grateful to live where people care about and support one another." Carolyn Croft is thankful for her parents, who bequeathed her with a love of history, travel, and the Flint Hills, all that Kansas has to offer. Likewise, Judy Goodrich of Council Grove is thankful to live in the beautiful Flint Hills, surrounded by the grasses and views that make this area unique. Bill Bunyan of Dodge City is thankful for his wife Susan and to be living in good old Kansas. Like Jeannie, I am thankful for the people in Kansas, some native, some newcomers, and the talents they share with us each day. Talented people like Oscar Rivera. Today, we share episode 3 of Oscar's journey from Honduras to Kansas.
My name is Oscar Rivera. I'm originally from Honduras. Let me explain to you how I ended up living here in the Sunflower State. I also want to show you a little bit of what we are and what we have down there in my country, in Honduras. This is San Pedro Sula. ¿Dónde vos, Chele?
Yo hoy tengo libertad como allá.
Yo vivo en Bermejo.
¿Y por qué andan en la calle, loco?
No tenemos nadie que los ayude.
Ah. ¿Y vos, Chele?
¿Ah?
¿Por qué andas en la calle?
Porque mi papá me sacó de mi casa.
¿Por qué, loco?
¿Ah?
¿Por qué?
Por gusto.
Tienes un buen punto porque con pasión se logra mover montañas. Y la pasión.
Speaking with Ishmael Kala, he told me that passion can move mountains. He said that passion is one of the keys to success. He also was telling me that we have to make children passionate about education, and we have to do it as a nation. Ishmael asked me why politicians are not passionate about education. It's because education doesn't give them any votes. He believes that education is a long-term investment. That is why politicians prefer to build some type of infrastructure than investing in education.
¿Y ahorita qué estás haciendo? ¿A vos te gustaría estudiar?
Sí.
¿Sí? ¿Y por qué no puedes estudiar ahorita?
Es que como no tengo quien me ayude.
Ah, ya. ¿Y vos, flaco?
Igual lo que dice él, yo no tengo nadie que me ayude, quisiera estudiar. Mi madre ya murió hace 5 años. Yo no me quedé con una señora en el bosque.
I think it's not fair that a child has to go out to work. Violence and poverty are big problems for many Hondurans. There might be few things or activities that generate happiness in our society. Our greatest happiness is soccer, the most beautiful game in the world.
But I will tell you about it in the next episode.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
With nearly 100 years of broadcasting excellence, Ren Radio is now live on the internet playing hit songs of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Join Jack Diamond, Mac Collins, Les Glenn, Frankie C., Antonio Barber, Wings Callahan, and the real Don Steele for some of the best music ever recorded. Hear it at rendigitalmedia.com or get the Ren Oldies Radio app in Play Store or App Store. And tell Alexa, good times and great oldies on Ren Internet Radio.
This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley.
A couple of weeks ago, I had a speaking engagement in St. Louis. I took a morning stroll along the tree-lined streets of my friend's neighborhood as the squirrels were scrambling across the street and along the fence tops, up and down the trees, grabbing acorns to store. Yes, lots of squirrels. Gray squirrels. Upon moving to Kansas many moons ago, I was startled to see red and brown squirrels in the park, and I asked about them, only to be informed that they were normal. I am not sure exactly where the east-west dividing line is, but there is one. And on the east side, the squirrels are gray, and on the west side, they are reddish-brown. But Kansas had one more squirrely surprise. Black squirrels. Yes, in one lovely Kansas town, the squirrels are black as coal, black as night, black as pitch. Well, you get the picture. Squirrels. They may be entertaining and they may be a nuisance nesting in the eaves of your house, but in Marysville the squirrel is revered and even has its own festival. But these are not the ordinary brown or gray squirrels running through most of our yards. These squirrels are black, black as night, black as coal, black as the heart of the Wicked Witch herself. In 1972, the governing body of Marysville passed legislation protecting the black squirrel and making it the official town mascot. It has the freedom to trespass on all city property, immunity from traffic regulations, and the first pick of all walnuts growing within the city. Entering Marysville from any direction, there are signs proclaiming, "Marysville, Black Squirrel City." Be on the lookout when driving around town, for the black squirrel has the right-of-way on all the streets, alleys, and railroad crossings. The fine is $25 for harming one. The exclusive profusion of black squirrels in Marysville is a curious phenomenon. The most likely explanation involves a traveling carnival which passed through town in the 1920s and stayed for a few days in the city's park. Among the carnival exhibits was a cage full of black squirrels. One night a child opened the cage and the squirrels escaped. Since then, the squirrels have increased their ranks. About 1/5 of Marysville's squirrel population is now black. Whatever the reason for their presence in Marysville, residents and passers-by seem to love them. Many residents have squirrel boxes attached to their trees, fence posts, and porches. The community thinks they are beautiful, and some think they bring good luck. One of the best places to look for black squirrels is in the city park. These little bundles of energy are most active just after dawn and in the late afternoon. Their highways are the power lines that run through the town. They can cover a lot of territory safely by running over these lines, stopping at favorite trees here and there. They love to sleep and sun themselves on high branches during the day, but often come to earth to forage in the shade. This is the perfect day. Pack a picnic lunch and drive very slowly once you reach the city limits. Lay your blanket in the Marysville City Park and then sit back munching your sandwich and watching the black squirrels at play. Welcome to Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center. right here in Oakley, Kansas on I-70 at exit 76. I-70, after all, is America's Main Street, and we're right here on Main Street for you. Now that I'm an Oakley resident, I still come in almost every day, and I sit and listen to the conversations of the people around me. You know, the guys who are talking about the big elk they just bagged, or the folks who are taking their kid to college for the first time. People just traveling up and down the highway. Real people, just like you and me. And they find just what I find here, real people to serve them. There's history, there's scenery. We hope you'll stop and see us soon. Welcome to Oakley. Highways 40, 83, and I-70 come together right here in Oakley. Roads that lead to businesses, to magnificent rock formations, to scenic vistas, to places where legends were made. Roads that lead us home. Discover Oakley, the gateway to western Kansas.
Earlier in my life, I rode bucking horses in rodeos, and my shoulders took such a beating, and that was probably the reason for having several previous surgeries on both shoulders. About a year ago, I decided that I didn't want to have another surgery, and so I contacted Kansas Regenerative Medicine, took their treatment process. It was relatively pain-free. Now, after 8 months, my shoulders have healed to the point where I think I'm probably 90 to 95% of normal. It takes a couple of months to start to see results and feel real progress. That continued to increase gradually until now at approximately 8 months. And I'm extremely pleased. I've got full range of motion. I can lift weights, I can throw, I can do a lot of things that I couldn't do without a lot of pain previously. So I'm tickled to death with the results, and I'd recommend this process to anyone.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Somebody said, everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it. Of course, we can't do anything about the weather, but we certainly talk about it all the time. This is a 3-part poem. It's titled, Weather or Not. Here's part 1. This weather is the worst, say the boys at the cafe. We haven't had a drop of rain for many, many a day. The drought just keeps a-going and the temperature gets hotter. The ponds are getting low and I'm having to call water. The crops are drying up and just standing in the field. If this drought continues, it'll cut way back on yield. The grass is dying off and the weeds are taking root. The cracks in the ground are big enough to catch your boot. The grass crunches underfoot when you walk through the gate. The springs will all run dry if it continues at this rate. These hot and dry conditions will cut back the cattle gain. This weather is the worst. If only it would rain. Here's part 2. This weather is the worst, they say at the coffee shop. The rainy spell we're in seems to never ever stop. It's too wet to ride horseback, so I drive the pickup truck. Then I have to use the tractor to pull it out when it gets stuck. The rain keeps blowing in the barn, right past the leather flap. The creek is up in flood and washes out the water gap. I'm always dumping water from around our old salt blocks. The steers in the feed yard are in mud up to their hocks. I wear a slicker every day, but it seems my luck, by heck. Even with my hat, the rain blows water down my neck. It's too wet to load the cattle, can't get the trailer to the chutes, and the mud is so darn deep I get stuck right in my boots. We sure need some relief from the downpour in the sky. This weather is the worst. If only it was dry. Here's part 3, the conclusion. Down at the cafe, the boys find reason to complain. They'll gripe about the weather in the sun or in the rain. Then the tall tales start to flow to see which storyteller's first to tell the biggest lie about the weather that was worst. Those tall tales really grow when the cowboys get together, and there is no denying that we get extremes of weather. Yet if we told the truth about the weather of which I speak, all that drought and rainy weather, it all happened just last week. Happy trail.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we'll be glad to answer it and work with you.
Are your cows practical or profitable? If you want them to be both, come to the Dale Banks Angus Bull Sale Saturday, November 17th near Eureka, Kansas. Selling 140 yearling and coming 2-year-olds who have spent their days on the rugged pastures of the Flint Hills. For 114 years, the Perriers have been focused on providing hard-working, balanced trait bulls for progressive cattlemen nationwide. Make plans to join us November 17th or pre-register to bid online. For more information and to view our catalog, visit www.dalebanks.com.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Lecompton was voted a best small town in Kansas by the readers of Kansas Magazine. The Christmas season is just one of the reasons why. The Territorial Capitol Museum is home of the largest indoor Christmas tree display with antique and vintage ornaments in the Midwest. Volunteers have spent hundreds of hours decorating more than 160 trees with vintage and themed ornaments displayed throughout all 3 of the museum's floors. The first tree that was put up this year was the quilt tree. This small tree was made by Karen Olson of Lawrence and donated to the museum. She is a friend of Lecompton Historical Society member Carolyn Stauffer, who along with her husband Gary worked tirelessly on preparing our unique tree display. The dedication of the many volunteers shows in Lecompton every day, but especially now. During the weeks of preparation, the boxes and cartons of decorations give the appearance of Santa's workshop rather than a history museum. As Paul Bonmeyer, president of the Lecompton Historical Society, pointed out, there is history in the ornaments and trees too. He opened the glass case in which the fragile feather tree is displayed. Like many Christmas traditions, including the Christmas tree itself, the feather tree has its origins in Germany. They were made in the 1880s and 90s from a center dowel with dyed green goose feathers forming the branches. Many of the fragile glass ornaments are light as a feather and come from Germany as well. Other ornaments are Scandinavian or Czech. The variety of Christmas trees ranges from tiny tabletop vintage trees, including brush trees from the 1940s, a small pink Barbie tree, and the 15-foot cedar that is the focal point of the chapel upstairs. Volunteers estimate there are at least 5,000 ornaments used to decorate the trees, but add that the number increases because donations continue to come to the museum. The third-floor chapel is also where the Christmas Vespers is held, always a standing room only crowd. The exhibit has become a regular part of many folks' holiday traditions, and the Lecompton Historical Society anticipates large crowds for this one. Group tours are welcome. The exhibit opened November 1st and will be up through New Year's Day. Lane University was originally intended to be the state capitol, and when that honor went to Topeka instead, the building was finished and turned into a university. The very colorful and controversial first Kansas Senator, Jim Lane, pledged funds for the school, and it was named in his honor. It is now home of the Territorial Capitol Museum and the Lecompton Historical Society, and along with Constitution Hall State Historic Site and the Democratic headquarters, is crucial in the telling of the story of the Kansas Territory. The The building is handicapped accessible, and please feel free to call the museum staff for particulars. Gift shops are in both of the museums in Lecompton. They carry all kinds of great books, souvenirs, and gifts. Located on the bluffs of the Caw, Lecompton offers gorgeous views of the river. There are restaurants for lunch and shops in which to browse and buy. Merry Christmas from historic Lecompton.
Well, here we are in November. I'm Frank, she's Deb, and we'll see you somewhere around camp.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
We're the best part of Dorothy Stream. We're the best part of Dorothy Stream.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.